Good morning, everyone. It's the December 13th weekly Jupyter Dev meeting where we're here at Vids with Matthias, Fernando, and Carol's going to be here in a couple minutes. Let's see. Looking at the hack pad for this week, it looks like in the project management realm, we have the code of conduct materials that are almost ready, and we'll finish that up in the next day or two. And we'll update the PR, the Jupyter governance number 23 to remove the WIP label so we can wrap that up. So you can look for it there. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll try to get that. I already have the remaining documents for the code of conduct that we're missing, so I'll try to have that pushed out today, tomorrow. And with JupyterCon, I think it's time that we start telling people to put it on their calendars because the ink is dry on the contract for JupyterCon. We'll make an announcement on the mailing list, and we're working on the call for proposals. But at least now I think we're completely confident that it will happen on August 21st through the 25th. It'll be in New York City, and so anyone who has ideas, suggestions, speakers who would make good invited keynote speakers. I mean, obviously we'll have a standard call for proposals to review talks, but for invited speakers, ideas of cool things we could or should do, please pitch in. I'll be sending an announcement to the mailing list as soon as I can, and we're working on the CFP. If anyone, I deliberately didn't try to add everyone in our group to the program committee because first of all, we want to spread out a mix of people in the team and in the community, and second, I don't want to sort of overload everyone in the development team with that kind of work. But if everyone really wants to be in the program committee, obviously let us know. It's basically going to be a combination of reviewing talks and some other tasks related to sort of conference organization. You can obviously contribute ideas even if you're not on the program committee. So those are the two big things that have kept me busy for the last few days.
Okay.
Anything else on that topic?
No, I'm catching up from being out of the office for about 4 days last week. I was pretty sick last week, so I only had 1 day of work. One day I was really able to get any work in. Hopefully I can give it to Fernando. And so tonight I'm giving a talk at for PyLadies at Bloomberg. We're going to do just a beginner demo and overview and have a little install party to get people started with Jupyter. So it'll probably be recorded. So if you guys want to catch up with that later on, I can send out the link.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're starting to have kind of more structured engagement with PyLadies. I think it'll help us a lot with kind of having kind of deliberate, intentional engagement with that group.
Yeah, great. All right.
Well,
so good morning, Ian. So the next thing we have on the list is Notebook, and we have Grant, Matthias, and Thomas reporting on that. Matthias, are you?
I was not that much involved.
Okay.
If Thomas is here, or
is Thomas here?
I can say a thing or two. So Grant released Notebook 4.3. I fixed some bugs in the yeah, it was fantastic. I fixed some bugs in the async stuff and got added functionality to get the IPyWidgets output widget finally working. And there was a push to get 4.3 out, so fixing remaining issues for 4.3.
Jason, one quick comment. It might be a good idea to send. I mean, I know that now we have more frequent small releases, but still to send an email to the.
I think it's what to do a 4.3.1 before.
The general mailing list. Okay. With
there is one bug that was discovered just after.
Just right away. Okay.
Yeah,
right. So let's do the 4.3.1 and then maybe send an announcement to the mailing list at the time. But it gets good visibility to put things on the general mailing list.
Yes, I agree. In fact, I didn't even catch that it was being released until about 4 hours after it was released because there was a change I was hoping to get in, but anyway. So I agree about that. But then I realized that they had mentioned it in the dev meeting notes, and I just had missed it in the dev meeting notes. So the protocol, I think, was followed up to the release.
Yeah.
But I would just remind people to please let everyone know about the release. Wait for the dev meeting if you can. Let everyone know about the release to see if there's any changes that need to go in.
And actually, things like this are still. I mean, the mailing list is still there precisely for a good reason. That it's a good place to broadcast these kinds of things. So, for example, if somebody has a last call we're ready for release. That's the kind of message that is good to have on the general mailing list. We all see it. Everybody gets it. Even if people just read the heading of the message and archive it right away, at least they've been flagged.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. All right, next on the list is Jupyter Lab. Darian, anything you want to share with the group?
I'm just continuing on some state restoration stuff. There isn't really a visual difference from what was there last week, but there were some bugs, and also the interface for plugin authors is a lot simpler now. So if you look at that outstanding PR, you'll see that each of the plugins, the way it restores its state is just a lot simpler. So hopefully that lowers the barrier for plugin authors. And I'm just continuing on that. That's it for me.
Darian,
I think the other thing. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I just wanted to thank you for all that work on state management, because I've been benefiting from it lately. I've given a couple of demos and talks, and it's been really, really useful to be able to get all my stuff back when I reload the page. So yeah, great work. This is
Excellent.
a huge usability improvement.
And
Good.
and
I'm
then
glad to hear it.
just carrying over an item from the Friday meeting, the abstract editor PR apparently is in, and they're looking at Monaco integration. I know Steve and some of the other folks are working really hard on that.
Sorry, I saw the abstract editor PR was in. Is the Monaco one also in, or just the?
No, not today.
No,
I don't think so. Darian?
There's still a few technical issues around it that we're working through. And actually, I pinged you, Jason. I pinged you, Jason, on that issue as well.
Okay. Sorry, Steve, if you want to say any more, I didn't realize you were here.
No, I'm actually sick, so just chiming in a little bit.
Okay.
I got you sick. I'm so sorry.
Thanks, Jamie.
You're welcome. All right, Jason, is that it for Jupyter Lab, Steve? A couple.
Yep.
Oh, you're so.
Yeah,
quiet.
I think that's it.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Next then is IPyWidgets, and I've got Jason on that one.
Yep. It's been a busy week again. Sylvan and Paul Ivanov and I have been working on it a lot, and Grant has been working on it a little bit, and Mike has been working on it from the NV-Convert angle as well. So Sylvan's been working hard on getting widgets working in the docs. They apparently work in the docs now, and as of a few minutes ago, work in NV-Convert. So this is rendering the widgets in a static page. I got the output widget working in the Classic Notebook and tracked down some bugs in the Classic Notebook that were from that were exposed by it. We also were working just on overhauling some widgets and getting ready for a 6.0 release and fixing bugs that were cropping up when we were looking at lots of more complicated examples involving widgets. It's funny how.
A quick question. The bugs you just alluded to, are they the ones that made it into the 4.3 already have been merged, or are these some of the things you caught that you said you wanted to get in but didn't?
Some of the things that I wanted to get in. So they're slated for 5.0 right now. I don't think I've seen too many effects of these bugs. It was just when we had a complicated widget example, we realized that there was a problem with the way we were dealing with async related messages and stuff. So right now it's in for 5.0,
okay.
But it's not in for 4.3 yet. Got
it. But it's not like if somebody has 4.3 and they update IPyWidgets, all of a sudden they can't load.
No,
it's not that.
No, it's a pretty complicated example. Okay. It's funny how you can get a complicated example, you realize, wait, that's really odd. It's just some little minor thing that doesn't look quite right, and then you trace it back to a fundamental bug in the lower levels of the notebook. Oh, we've had this bug all along. You know how that works.
Okay. No, just trying to understand.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no extra bugs in 4.3. But 5.0 will fix some of that. And I'd just add for whoever's interested, TypeScript 2.1 was released, which brings a lot of sort of game-changing stuff to the table. Async await works for ES5, which is fantastic, and there's some other cool typing stuff that came with it. So we'll probably migrate to TypeScript 2.1 fairly soon.
That's the one that ships already in VS Code 1.7, right?
I don't think it's in VS Code yet.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Yeah, it was just released a couple days ago.
A couple days ago. Okay.
So I think that's it for widgets.
Thanks. Mike, did you have anything that you wanted to add there? I saw you had to put your finger up like you had an idea. No? You're good? Just confirming. Okay. Yes. No. Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. Next is Jupyter Hub.
Jupyter Hub. It's been a quiet week for us. We're just responding to questions and issues on the new 0.7 release. We are working on updating the Ansible scripts for the teaching deployment, and Brian's giving us some input on that as well. And Jupyter Day Paris went well, and there is actually a new mailing list for those that didn't see the email, Jupyter in HPC. And that's it for this week.
Quick note on the Jupyter and HPC mailing list. Do we have it listed? I don't think we do have it listed.
I opened on issue and asked for an icon to the designer.
Okay,
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, to have it listed on the little resources.
I think he did it within 10 minutes of when the first email went out.
That's
So
wonderful. Thank you. That's all.
he's on it.
I didn't saw any response to the issue, so I don't know if we should ping someone.
I think it's starting to be finals week. It was like study week last week and finals week at Cal Poly. So
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay, but the issue is open.
Yeah.
I can put a link in the chat.
Thanks.
All right. So we have Qt console and kernels on here, but they don't have an owner this week, which is fine. So that means the next topic is
A quick question. Do we have anyone present here who was at Jupyter Day Paris who can give us a quick, any highlights?
Yeah, I was there.
You were there? I'm just curious. If you have
No, it was pretty good. There were about I think like 75 people, and we did a bunch of demos of Jupyter Lab, IPyWidgets, MBDime. There was a Sage Math Cloud talk. There was a talk on Jupyter Hub, and because most of the people there were either affiliated with the University of Paris South or academics who knew those people, it tended to be the case that I think the things that most caught their interest were Jupyter Hub and how to basically use Jupyter for classes. So I think it would have been really good if we could have had maybe like an MB Grader talk or something. And it seems like there's a lot of interest for doing it next year as well. But the whole thing, I think, went off pretty well. It was a success. The second day, we had a smaller workshop, which was primarily focused on high-performance computing. And one of the people who did a demo was showing a very large cluster they have at the, I think, the University of Reims. And basically, they have like a customized version of, once it launches, it's sitting on top of a single node in the cluster, and it gives you access to specific things in that node that you edit, like you edit actual code on one node at a time, sort of. And we were talking about how maybe that interface that they've had to hack together might be easier to accomplish in Jupyter Lab, because basically they have this one page with a lot of stuff in it, and they open up a cell, and inside that cell there's an actual editor that's sitting on a separate server, sort of. So really the tabbed interface in Jupyter Lab could fix a lot of problems if we had some out of band method of communication that didn't rely on simply filling in cell outputs. So I think there's a lot of room for giving people a more formal way to solve some problems that currently they're finding ingenious but sort of hacky ways around. But in general, that talk was probably a little over my head. I think next time we have Min or Thomas on the line, maybe, or Sylvan was there too. They'll have some more to contribute. But it was pretty solid. It was a good event.
Great. No, thanks. This is wonderful. And yeah, it would be nice if that person is on the HPC mailing list, if they post any links to their materials or whatnot. It sounds like an interesting use case, and we're having a lot of HPC usage here, both at Berkeley on campus and at LBL, and so it would be good to kind of exchange notes with those people and figure out what they're doing. But thanks, this is great, appreciate it.
Cool. Yep.
Okay. Now to Mike.
So as Jason said, NBConvert was just merged and now has better widget support. There's a little bit of a caveat there where it only works if you have already the available JavaScript rendering engine stuff available to you. We can embed it manually, but we need to hash that out, and that's not an appropriate topic for here. I've got some further progress on header IDs now using a GitHub project to organize that effort, as I talked about last week. And the docs are broken. They've been broken for a month, and Carol and I have taken a long look at it and haven't figured out why, and we're going to look at it together more.
And right now it's linking to the stable docs, so folks don't necessarily think it's broken. And it seems to be, I tried a whole bunch of combinations this weekend, Mike, and I'm getting the sense that it's a read the docs build tool issue as opposed to our configuration, but I need to confirm that by running a few more tests. So.
Okay, well, I'm excited to find that out. Because I had thought that because no releases were happening around that time. So that was what I suspected, but Read the Docs doesn't have releases in the same way. So
yeah, no, I ran the last old clean build, and it still breaks now. So that's why I think it's
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah,
something may have changed under the hood from there.
Yeah, and I think it's the way it's handling setup.py for a dev release, and that's why it's dropping it back down to the stable versus our dev release. But yeah, so more to be done.
Okay.
Cool. So in the help menu of the classic notebook, there is a link to additional documentation on the notebook.
Okay.
I think it links to MDViewer actually.
Does it? I don't remember.
So that's broken. I was just kind of poking around. I was trying to going around to do a tour for the demo tonight. So when you open the classic notebook and you go to the help menu, one of the first choices in that menu is like, additional help. And I got a 503 error on that and filed a issue on the MDViewer.
We should make sure that, and I'll look at it later, but
Notebook help.
Notebook help.
Yeah.
If it's 503, it may just have not been capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
At 11 o'clock at night?
Yes, the MDViewer, it may have just.
Okay.
I mean, you have an update like here.
Glitched out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to be working. It seems to be up now, but.
Okay.
We'll play with it a few times today, make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Great. Okay. Awesome.
Darian, Jason, Steve, whoever is kind of, I was not trying to put you guys on the spot, but I was wondering what your thoughts are on the Horizon for the Jupyter Lab beta. And the reason why I'm asking is because I'm actually using it quite a bit. And I'm beginning to get kind of the smell of a really good beta. It's beginning to feel really like something that, I mean, I'm beginning to tell people. I gave a long talk yesterday here with some kind of geophysics colleagues, and I basically told them, guys, start using this, start telling us what works and what doesn't. I'm not being shy anymore about it because I am using it quite extensively. And so I'd like to begin prodding you guys as to when do you feel comfortable kind of calling it a beta and beginning to tell people to hop on it. I mean, we label it, we know there's limitations, we make a good list of what the limitations are, but it's feeling like a really pretty solid and usable day-to-day tool.
So I can actually comment on that. So my internal messaging that I've been using is that we've been waiting on you guys meaning like the Project Jupyter steering council kind of leaders, because I feel that's kind of in your court. So I'm glad to hear you say that, and that actually opens the door for us to maybe have a separate discussion from this particular meeting about when we want to start considering that and what kind of features we actually want to ensure get implemented before we call that an official beta. So I think that's great feedback. Thanks for that. And now we can actually start thinking about answering that question.
Yeah, and I think we could, I mean, what we should do is basically do a triage of right now there's 30 open issues on the beta. We can have a look, like now, the kind of thing that we do close to release, which is like, okay, let's really look at these guys and which ones really belong there, which ones we can bump after. Is there anything really important that is not already open there? And then say, okay, with the remaining X, whether that number X ends up being a little bit more, a little bit less than 30, we chop away at them as quickly as we can, and then we put this thing out. Because honestly, it feels like it. It's really good work, and I don't think at this point we'd be throwing users into any particularly uncomfortable place, as long as we're kind of upfront about any known. The other thing is to have a document. I think that this is one thing that we do need to begin doing now. That shouldn't be done the night before. Is to have a document where we flag really things that we know are still limitations and things that we know may be important behavior changes, both for users to know so that they can adapt, and also to give us feedback on whether that behavior change is really too much to deal with, and maybe it's something that we need to reconsider. And Jason, I know we had talked about opening kind of an issue with that kind of structure for people to report to. I don't know if it has been opened or not, but I think that's one thing that we should do.
Speaking again to the beta, I know one thing that Steve has mentioned is trying to get a bunch of API changes and API cleanups in before beta, before people really start to push on this. I've been heads down in IPyWidgets for the last week or two. Steve, do you want to comment on that? If you're still on.
I think Steve may have had to go.
Okay. Or Darian.
I'm not too sure about the API changes, but actually IPyWidgets brings up a good point itself, in that I think before we call it a beta, we should make sure we've resolved the pain of each upgrade, because until we switch to the sub packages that we're moving toward, each upgrade has the potential, or no, not the potential, it is guaranteed to break plugins, and we simply, that's acceptable for developers, but I don't think it's acceptable to have beta users have to fear every upgrade is going to break their experience. So that's not really.
Yeah. I'm
sorry.
Really, right?
You cut out, so I'm not sure what you said.
Oh. Yeah, we've been dealing with the upgrade merry-go-round with widgets. But I think that speaks to.
Very well.
Jason, we can't understand. Nobody can understand anything you're saying.
Type it.
Or maybe cut your video off.
Oh yeah, is that any better?
Maybe.
Try again.
I think that speaks to the API compatibility that Steve was hoping to get to. No?
Robot speak.
He said it speaks to the
Okay. I believe Jason just said, I think that speaks to the API compatibility that Steve alluded to. And yes, if that's the case, that is correct. That is, I think, the biggest pre-beta issue that should be resolved, because everything else is features, but that's actually that'll affect usability and that'll frustrate people. So if we can resolve it, that'll be good. I literally just put words in Jason's mouth, so I don't know if they're accurate, but I hope they were.
Darian, so that's perfectly fine. As I said, I wasn't saying a beta must be out by Monday morning or anything like that. I was just kind of saying it's time to start having this conversation.
For Christmas.
So no,
if you can hear me, I don't know. The difference really is a beta for users or a beta for developers. Beta for users, it sounds like we're getting really close to. The beta for developers, there's still a lot of API changes going on. So maybe if we message it right, we can still say a beta. For users, developers have some pain.
I mean, that boundary is fluid. So rather than trying to say users or developers, I think this is why I think what needs to come out is a document explaining this is a beta with the following caveats, right? And those caveats are very clearly explained, so people know what they're getting themselves into, and they can choose that. We're not expecting this to be packaged in Anaconda when it comes out, kind of for people to just update, and all of a sudden that's the interface they see. It's nothing like that. No one will walk into this accidentally.
Yeah, so I have one proposal if you enter beta. Since last week, Travis supports cron. So we could have a repository that just install everything, including plugins written by users, and run a weekly build to see if the development of Jupyter Lab is breaking other plugins.
Oh, that sounds great.
That's cool.
That's
And we could do that for basically everything.
Oh, nice.
Even for the IPython repository.
Yeah.
So we could like just say if you're dependent on us, make a PR to this repository.
Add your thing.
We will add you as an admin on this repository. So you will get notified when things break, and so we can see that we are breaking downstream.
Oh, good. That's nice. Yeah. So Darian, maybe you guys could open an issue on this API question just to have it flagged there, and that way you can track. And I think as long as we document those facts, it's fine. And then users can decide which user or developer hat they wear when they play with it, but they can still play with it. They could say, I'm going to play with this thing only to look at my plugins, but I'm not going to use it for day-to-day work because I don't want to deal with the upgrade hassle. That's fine, as long as we're upfront about it. But I'm
pretty sure there is an issue. Like this is a major thing that Steve's been working on. So I think there's an issue he's working against already.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean this wasn't. I didn't mean to sort of push back against the notion of going to beta. I just wanted to point out what I think is the biggest remaining outstanding issue. Otherwise, it's actually really good to hear that you're finding it stable and you're finding it a good enough experience that we're headed there. That's really positive. So thanks.
Yeah, no. And your comments are exactly what the kind of conversation that we need to have. And obviously, I may have missed something. It's not like I'm using every dark corner, but I'm just saying that in real world, non-trivial usage, it's feeling great. So yeah, good job, guys. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Cool. Hey, Sylvan, thanks for joining. Sylvan just joined.
Oh, okay.
Did you have anything? I see, Chris, you had something you wanted to add on to that before we.
Yeah, I was just going to say with respect to timing as we approach the end of the year, me and my team are going to be out the last 2 weeks of December, I believe. I'm assuming I still have that correctly, and my guys haven't changed their minds. But this would basically be our last week of the year before we all head off for holidays.
Okay, sure. Thanks for letting us know.
So we can release on Friday.
There you go. Yeah. That means the beta's out by Friday afternoon. Make sure that the last thing you do is push the beta release out before you turn the heat off and unplug the computers and disappear completely for 2 weeks. That's exactly the way to do it.
The good news with that is that if you do this, the beta is going to be stable for 3 weeks at least, right?
Sylvan, we were pretty much wrapping up. So did you have any anything you'd like to comment on? And Darian gave us an update on Jupyter Day Paris. But if you also have anything that you want to let us know about from that event.
I might have some things to add after the recording is stopped. On the day, what happened the day after Jupyter Day. Also, good news, we got the widgets working in the docs. So if you go to read the docs, you see all the widgets working and live inline. I'm working on getting them to work with BQplot and Py3.js. And thanks to the hard work of Mike, we got, it's code complete for NBConvert and NBViewer. And I'm just hoping that Min or Thomas or anyone who is more, involved in this project makes a minor release so that we have widgets in NBConvert. Finally.
Cool.
Way to go.
Excellent.
Yay.
Anything else? Anyone else?
All right, we can say goodbye to the internet.
Yeah, and Chris and team who are going to be on holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Have a great break. Great work, everyone. And we can touch bases next week if there's anyone around kind of for last minute things. Have a great one. But if not, no worries. I mean, I know that the holidays are beginning to kick into gear. So I hope everybody has a really good break.
Bye.